9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Joy Seekers are live.
Good evening. Yes. It's Sunday. It's 8 p.m. or just 8 p.m. And it's Closing Shogun. So welcome Stevie and Stevie Essex and Lauren and Stevie Essex again. Right. So, there below. Jackie, how did you go over there? Hey, what's going on here? It's all gone wrong. Hang on. This is freaking me out now. Right. Marcus.
Go, I felt ill then. No, I was on the wrong way.
This is not working, folks. That's better. If I don't have a ride around,
we're all just such creatures of habit, aren't we? You know, we like
Jerry.
Little corners.
Jerry, great video on the ice skating. Very much, for some reason, that had me in tears. I don't know why. We'll talk about that later. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And Sally. Hi, Sally.
Yes.
Sally's a real drone seeker now. She's got
the t-shirt.
Yep.
Official.
I hope you've got it on now, Sally. Have you got it on now? You got to wear it while watching the show. You know that. You know the rules. We watching you. Anyway, Marcus, Terry, Jackie. Right, Kev can't be here tonight. Unfortunately, work has taken over his life again. He works too hard by far. Brian just popped in. Idaho.
Idaho quadcopter.
Ah, it's Marcus. He fooled me. Jackie's not funny. Anyway, Jackie's all smiling today.
I'm smiling. I'm still dancing.
Working her socks off, trying to make this happen. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh, hi, Sarah.
Got a special guest tonight, Sarah. Oh, sorry,
She's trying to get away.
She's actually leaving, so she just came in to tell me she's going.
Oh, does that mean you've got no sandwich after the
Who's
show?
going to make a sandwich at whatever time?
Oh, you forgot.
That. Now I'm getting sad.
Oh no! Quick, call her back.
Hold on, I've got Stradivarius here.
Hey, trust me, she'll take care of me.
Anyway, wearing it. See, Sally, look, she's wearing the top.
Good girl.
Right, so have we got anyone to say hello to? No. And our special guest, I don't know where he's gone. He disappeared somewhere.
Bring him back.
Mark. Oh, he's there. Right. Okay. Right. So we've got a special
There
guest.
have been some technical difficulties tonight.
No, we have no technical difficulties.
It's mainly his fault, yeah.
Well, Jerry's fault.
Come on, Captain, get it together.
Well, I've done nothing. Oh, he's got a new mic.
No.
Let's welcome this week's Drone Seekers live show special guest.
It's Mark Wingad. Welcome, Mark. I bet you've never done an intro like that before, have you, Mark?
Was it spelled right?
It was.
It's all right. I just noticed on my name, someone put a D in it. There's no D.
Yeah.
Oh,
No D. No D at the end. What, at the end?
There's no D.
What is it then? How does it spell?
Oh, sorry, there's no D in the middle. Sorry.
Oh, is there a D in the middle?
It's like yours at the bottom.
So,
It's fine.
is that,
Wingad. Not
Team.
Wingad.
Wingad.
Something like that.
Anyway, well, welcome, Mark. Mark's he's a UAV specialist. Among other things, he's a pilot as well, a long-standing pilot and professional drone flyer. So, I was going to try and get this straight a bit.
Steve, I'm in the wrong place. I don't
Oh,
know.
you got up there now. What is going on?
I don't know.
It gives me a headache. That's better.
That's still
Well, not quite.
Oh,
What
what
do
is
you do?
I know. But Marcus over there.
Oh, that's good.
As soon as right, that will do.
Hey, I'm happy. I'm next to the lady, so I'm happy.
Hey.
Fine.
Right. So is everyone happy they're in the right place there? It's terrible.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris.
We do like to be in our right places.
Yes.
So, remind me, TX drone guy is who's that?
Smells Michael.
Lauren.
That's Michael Wright.
That's Michael.
Oh yes, of course he is. Yeah. And Big Mark and John and
Facebook user.
half-time football blades v Liverpool 0-0. I can't care. Facebook user, who's that then? That's got to be, is it Ross? No?
Oh, I haven't got me.
When is it, Marcus?
Which one are we talking about? I was distracted, huh? What?
Facebook
When are you
user.
going to get it? The FPV, the DJI FPV.
You know what? Listen, in all seriousness, you talking to Mark or me?
You.
Okay,
Marcus.
got a little confusing there for a second. Yeah,
Just call him Idaho tonight, that'll do.
yeah. My dad used to just call me Mark, so sometimes it gets a little confusing in my brain. But the short answer is I don't know because I want to see it first, Terry. And my gut tells me now probably not, but I'm not going to say that until we actually see what the darn thing is, right? I mean, there's been a lot of leaks, but we really haven't seen all the features. One thing we know about DJI is they always give us something that just blows us away, and you get that gotta have it moment. The one thing that does attract me to that drone, quite frankly, is the speed. But I'm not sure I'm down with goggles and all that business. And we were talking about this earlier in the pre-show. Wearing those goggles, to me, is problematic with regard to beyond visual line of sight.
Yep.
You have to have a spotter. I typically fly by myself, so you'd have to have somebody with you. And then even at that point, what's the point of a drone that can do 70 miles an hour if you can't fly it more than 300 yards away from you legally?
There's a question there for you, Mark. I know we all probably know the answer to the one, but someone's saying, do I need a license to fly my Mavic Mini? And the answer is...
Tony Carlis.
Oh, Tony. Right, Tony. Right.
It depends.
Would you like to resolve that one, Mark?
It depends where in the world you are.
So are
He's
you
in Spain,
He's in Spain.
I think.
Are you in Spain?
Well, he's often in Spain. Come on, Tony. Are you in Spain at the minute?
Where are you, Tony? Yeah, come on.
Is he in Spain or UK?
Depends where you are in the world, because then it's just registering in the right country with the drone.
Oh,
So you register as an
talk to me
operator.
about registering in the right country.
Oh my God. But 250 gram drone. I mean, what is the scenario? South Wales.
Oh, he's in South Wales.
Yes, you do.
Just an operator ID. All you need for a Mini is the operator ID from the CAA. £9. That's it.
There we
Mark,
are.
I've got a question for you.
Oh,
Right. I did my training first, and I did it in Luxembourg, and I got a number that begins with Lux, right?
Yep.
And then I finally, some miraculous way, managed to get registered in the Spanish system,
yeah.
and my number now begins with an ESP, Spanish.
Oh, you're in trouble.
Does that matter?
Jackie.
It shouldn't matter at all, should it? No. Why would it matter?
Well, I read somewhere you weren't allowed to register twice.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't registered. I've just trained once and registered once.
Yeah. So the thing is,
Don't worry about it. Fine.
the painful thing is, wherever you want to fly now, you have to register in that country as an
Yeah,
operator.
right.
So
Right.
I've done that right.
So if you've done the registration in Spain,
Yep.
you register as an operator. You've done the European test, A1 and A3 category. Although it says books on it, technically, as I understand it, it shouldn't matter because it's valid across all your EU countries that are in the EU.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's good enough for me.
I mean,
Cheers.
even in the UK, I mean, we decided in 2019 that we would join the whole thing with Europe, although we were actually leaving Europe. But in 2019, it was originally supposed to happen. Was it in July, Mark? Originally, wasn't it?
It was before that. Was it July? Was it before?
I
It got
thought July, and then it got postponed
back
to
3 times, didn't it?
Oh, okay, so maybe it was earlier than that originally. I can't remember. I remember a date in July. Also, remember they said, well, because of COVID and well, they said maybe 2000 or December the 31st, wasn't it?
It got moved about 3 times. Well, it got moved at least 2. No, I think 3 times actually, off the top of my head. I'm going to say 3 times it got shifted. And then they just went, right, 31st of December, no matter what, hell or high water.
Which was a very strange thing, based on the principle. Because I actually read the other magazine that the BMFA. I don't know if they send that magazine every month, but I got about 3 issues of it when I joined the BMFA, and it was a whole article, the whole thing in there. Like, I thought, I was going to take over to the guy I went flying with today, but I forgot I left it in the car. I left it. So I had so much stuff taped. But
I never read it.
Yeah, it was. I've read through because most of it, of course, is to do with planes, isn't it? I mean, I know you do fly planes, Mal, don't you? But obviously not flying planes. I've got friends who do, and I thought, and I sort of skipped through it all. I thought, there was a picture of a Mavic Mini on there. I will have a look at this. And of course, Mini 2, sorry, not a Mavic Mini, a Mini DJI Mini 2. And because all it was like talking about the new drone rules. And there's about like 4 A4 pages. I'm sitting there thinking, what thing to be reading?
Well, to be honest, I mean, the strange bit is everyone moans about the new rules, but the hobby side of it, for the most part, hasn't really changed. If you wanted to fly in the open category in the A3, that 150 meters from a built-up area, that's always been the rule.
Yeah.
So that's not massively changed. The only thing that's really changed is you can now buy this little fella, and now, under 250 grams, you kind of let loose.
Am I right in saying, Mark, that with the as far as I understand it, with the Mini, or the Mavic Mini or the Mini 2, you can fly that more or less anywhere, over people's rooftops and houses, anywhere.
Even though it's got a camera, there's no
camera.
Wow.
Yeah, so our privacy rules, the GD, because I think in Spain, especially, or Portugal especially, they would lynch you in some cases for having a camera on a drone and overflying people's gardens.
Yeah.
Their privacy rules are worse than their aviation drone rule, if you like. But in the UK, you've just got to make sure that when you're overflying, this time of year is not too bad, that you're not capturing people's back gardens or them in it, or stop them enjoying it.
It's the case with the invasion of privacy. If someone was sitting there like this and you took a photograph of them, that's not really their privacy.
It's all about if you can identify the person, isn't it?
You can't that person. You've got no detail there, have you?
But here's the thing: the rule, the subtle part of this is you are not to stop someone from enjoying their garden, their privacy. So you should not fly in such a way to invade their back garden, their privacy. And if you are disturbing it, technically, you're going to get in trouble. You could get in trouble.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. That is fair enough, because I mean, people are entitled to their privacy, and if people are not, I mean, there are a lot of people who are very anti-drones. We come across all the time. Oh, drones, they're just spies. They're just trying to peer through my bedroom window, etc. We all know that with the best will in the world, they'd be damn good bloody drone if they could do that.
You need a hell of a camera on it, wouldn't it?
Hey, so Mark, by that definition, just overflying somebody's backyard when they're out there wouldn't constitute that, if I understand you correctly. In other words, you would have to have your drone down and you're literally bothering them. In the county that I live in the state of Idaho, they have a drone harassment law, which I am all for. I am absolutely for it, because they had situations at parks where kids would dive bomb people with their drones and so forth.
Yeah, don't want that.
Nobody wants that. So it sounds to me like this is similar.
I'm always I always tell people when I teach them as well. The thing is, right, in the the old rules before, when we overfly, used to be 50 meters horizontal, 50 meters separation. So you fly at 60 meters, so you've got 10 meters above the house, so you got your space. I always tell people, if you're going to overfly people's gardens and properties, you want to be up there. You want to be at 60 to 80 meters, so you're into the 300 foot range. And if you're cruising along, right, and you're looking straight ahead, and your camera's not looking down, you're not doing any harm. But summer is coming, and people need to get their head out there, because a lot of people think, I've got a mini, I can fly away and do what I want. As soon as people are enjoying their back gardens and they're having the barbecues and their evening, last thing we want is these buzzing around, because I would be happy. Would you be happy if you had birds around?
I quite, to be honest with you, Mark, my thoughts on the subject, I don't give a monkeys whether it's a Mini 2 or one of these like a very, very small FPV drones or what it is. You should not be, as you rightly say, stopping people from enjoying their privacy, whatever. Because at the end of the day, just fly responsibly. Why would you need?
It up high. Just keep it up high.
Yeah. And
and that's a good point, Mark, because what I've found is, it's legal to fly at state parks here. Whenever I'm flying anywhere, I never fly over people but if I'm close to them, just like you said, I make sure I'm so high up there that they don't even know that drone is there.
Yeah. I mean, now Funky Duck says, anyone go up to anyone in the street and take their photo. Now, here's the thing. You can take a photo in the street. However, there are certain things.
Can't put it on social media, can you?
Yeah, so if you put their photo out there and they're not the main subject, so they're captured as part of the background, that's not a problem. However, if you say that was Tom and his last name was Sinclair and he was on this day at this time, you are giving away his information. You are giving away information, and that's when it becomes all the grey, murky, nasty area. So just don't do that.
But that was part of the question, where you can actually fly a drone. When did that Luxembourg test? I mean, that was all part of the question. Was about, they were showing pictures and saying, would this picture be okay to publish in social media? And it was someone sitting there, you couldn't see their faces, said that's fine. But as soon as you detail, it's not fine.
No.
Because if they're uninvolved people, literally, and they're not there for you to film or photographing from public areas is not a crime. Why is it different from flying a drone? It's not a good question. But I think there are data protection. People are entitled to their privacy, and no one has the right to just go up and say, "Hello, I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to put it on Facebook. Can I take your name and address?"
You'll notice that in our sports events now, so you can take a photograph of anything and put it in. And the thing is, right, it's about naming them and giving away their full details. If you capture someone that's in a public place, it's not a problem.
No.
It's not a problem. But you'll notice that even now with sporting events, when they're doing the photos, you see the photos now in the newspapers, they start blurring out the crowd. Have you noticed?
I don't have noticed.
And that's at public sports events. So there's still photography stuff. When they take a photo of the goalie, get doing all stuff, you'll notice that the faces in the background slowly get blurred.
Oh, okay.
Because it's more and more now. If you're in a public place, it's fine. That's not the problem. Capturing someone's face in a public place, it's about if you name them and date it and stamp it, that's when you're into the messy world.
Well, Lawrence has put up on his interesting privacy case in Canada. To make a long story short, the judge ruled that there is no expectation of privacy while in the public air. Well,
Yeah.
but it is privacy, because at the end of the day, if you don't publish their name, then it's privacy. If I went up to a person and said, "Excuse me, I've just taken a picture, you're in it, can I take your name and address and publicise it?" That's invasion of privacy.
I think
Taking a photo of someone is not invading their privacy, is it?
Yeah.
I disagree with you, Steve. I think if you're in a public space, you have no expectation of privacy. Now that changes if you're in a restroom or something like that. But when you're out on the street in a public place, you have no expectation of privacy.
Well, no, because we've got CCTV everywhere, haven't we? We've got CCTV. That is there for our protection. So we're going to go and walk into these people who run these CCTV and try and say, "Excuse me, I want all the footage with me in it between 1 and 2 when I was uptown yesterday." They're not telling me where I am.
But here's the important bit is, so my back garden is not a public space. Steve, your back garden is not a public place. Terry, it's not, it's not public space. Marcus, it's not, and Jackie, it's not. So
definitely not, because I've got a jacuzzi on the roof. That is not public. That is not public.
So the important bit is, right, if it's people's gardens in the summer, people have to think, stay high, stay out the way. If you're filming at a beach with your drone, right, you're going to be fine. There's not, people might get miffed at you because you're flying a drone and they think the world revolves around that.
Guaranteed they will.
I've been in 8 years of commercial flying. I've had four people try and have a pop at me, as in have a go. And normally I'm polite when I start the conversation. Okay, so I'm always polite, explain the rules.
Yeah.
Then they think it's about them, and depending upon their mood, I tend to then flip it to go, "Look, I know your mum told you was important, and you told that for years, but honestly, I don't know who you are, and I don't care." They don't like that bit.
No.
They really don't like that. Because even if it could be someone fake, because I don't follow famous people or any rubbish like that, And I had one guy who threatened to sue me because his property was caught in the background of one shot I was doing, and I just turned around and says, "Right, when you speak to your solicitor," I says, "just mention Skyview's law." I says, "I've not broken any rules. I've not broken any laws. Your property's 100 meters away. Go do what you think you can do, because you're going to get nowhere."
Now, I did actually see an instance where someone had actually captured someone's registration plate of their car.
Yeah.
Big deal.
No,
That's out in public again, isn't it?
But it was actually published on YouTube. The video was published on YouTube, and YouTube made the person take it down because the person who owned the registration complained to YouTube. The YouTube said, "Fair enough, take the video down."
But YouTube probably did that out of an abundance of caution. Let me give you just another quick example. I got stopped by a park ranger in a state park. He didn't like where I took off from, and his reasoning was, "Listen, we're okay with you flying drones here, but it bothers some people, so we just like you to get out further away." Right. Well, you could argue about that, but I didn't. But the example that he gave me that they had an issue was, and this is where that harassment law comes in that I'm quite frankly glad we have, is there was a guy that was flying a drone in that very park, and they have a beach, a little pond and a beach, and he was down really low taking videos of teenage girls, quite frankly. And so they literally prosecuted the guy. They confiscated his SD card, but that then drove them at the park to have to say, "Well, we can't just let this go."
Yeah,
really. So I was perfectly fine. He said, "Hey, if you take off across the street, you can fly over around here. Now, if you're down 10 feet above the beach, yeah, we got a problem. But beyond that, they were good." So there again, it just comes down to common sense. And even though that was a public place, if I was a father and that was my daughter on the beach,
Yeah.
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 I mean, there's a question for you, Mark. So, I mean, okay, National Trust, they do not allow people to fly on their properties. However, surely my theory is if you took off from outside and flew over the National Trust, they can't do nothing about it, right?
This comes up on Facebook, I swear, every 3 days.
Same in the US.
It's one of those things where people do not scroll through the groups at all. So they go, oh, I can't fly, and they look at the National Trust website and they just say no drones.
Yeah,
that's all they should say is we do not permit drones to take off from our land. Period. They shouldn't have to quote any bylaw. That's pointless. No council has to quote any bylaw. All they have to do is we do not permit drones to take off from our land. Yeah. That's it, right? However, that's the only rule they can come up with because overflight and airspace is controlled by the CAA.
Yeah,
it's a state asset. Although the CAA did publish CAP 722C, and it does look like people can apply for geozones. And this is, let's say there's a National Trust property that's been harassed by drones. They could literally come up with a geozone around it and just say no drones in there. Now, this will eventually happen because people that are flying where and doing what they think they can, do, it will eventually cause a little bit of a knock-on for us. But, it's an interesting one. But, yeah, overflight is permitted. I've got a video coming up on overflying railway lines coming up shortly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, interestingly, there was a place where I wanted to go flying. It was going to be a frozen pond, and I looked on there and thought, I can't actually fly there because less than 50 meters in that direction is a railway line.
Doesn't matter.
No,
doesn't matter. Network Rail, another one, another one that likes to tell you their version of the law. So basically, Network Rail, and it's uninvolved people now. Before it was vehicles and structures and vessels and all that. Now it's uninvolved people. So with a Mini, we'll use the Mini as an example. Okay, well, it will vary depending upon your aircraft weight. So if you've got C2 aircraft when they come out, or you've got a A1, C1 aircraft and all that, the distance will change. But let's say with a Mini, if you take off, okay, remember there's no horizontal separation. The railway line fence could literally be a meter from you. You could take off, right? You do not have to notify Network Rail. There's no legal requirement at all. Okay,
it was actually showing up in the zone, though, Mark.
No. Read it carefully. Read it very carefully. It comes up as a warning zone, so it's yellow, so it's a warning.
Yes.
Yeah, and it says please register on the Network Rail.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
At no point is that a legal requirement.
Oh, okay.
It's only people read it on that Drone Assist, and then what they're doing is they're reading, but they're not reading. If that makes sense.
In which case, what they're saying is I've always got to tell them what time, what date I'm going to be flying there, so to make sure they're in a train.
Not quite. So what they want to
drone.
Really wrong. Network Rail have their own drone team, and I've had run-ins with them on Facebook, and I've always said, look, I will overfly your infrastructure if at a safe height, and I get a little bit of stick for that, and I've gone, look, you don't own the airspace. My risk assessment says I can do it. I am going over, and you can. The horizontal separation, if there's someone around, will apply. Okay. And I actually have the Mini coming up in a video where it flies over the line a few times just to show, it's legal. You can do it.
With no train coming.
Right? You don't have to register with Network Rail's system, which is ridiculous to go to a different system to register your flight. Because if you go to Nats Drone Assist, you can actually tap and put a flight in, can't you, already?
Yeah.
If you've seen it, you can go, right, why would there be two systems? It makes no sense.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. It's just, I mean, all the time you see, we take these things for in the context there, and maybe sometimes we take them out of context, because I suppose my fault is, achieving the A2C and C and thinking, well, that can be revoked if I break the law. So all the time I'm thinking, is that illegal? Is that legal? I'm going around now, seriously, going around even today, go out flying and actually looking around, looking for.
It all depends what you're flying, Steve. This is it. It depends if you're flying the Mini, a Mavic, a Phantom. The rules are. The problem is, right, there's, like I say, Network Rail want you to believe their version of that geo warning.
Of course, yeah.
That thing. Now, don't get me wrong, right? If there was a team of Network Rail workers working on the line, would you go over flying them? No, you'd probably leave them do their job, because, working on the railways, enough people get killed by trains. You wouldn't want to distract the guys there. So you would move, or you'll come back a different day when they're gone. And Network Rail do have drone jobs going on, which you would hope would show up on that drone assist.
Yeah.
So they're logging their flights so you can see them. And their infrastructure, those overhead wires, would you want your drone to end up in them?
No, not absolutely no.
You imagine your operator ID, your drone in that wiring. Yeah, I would.
Hey, so just a quick comment with regard to the National Trust in the UK and national parks in the United States. Obviously, it's illegal for us to fly here. You can get a permit, but it's very restrictive and very, very difficult to do. I think only really commercial filming companies and stuff can get those kind of permits. But the problem I have with that is I absolutely understand why they don't want 100 people flying drones over the geysers in Yellowstone Park and things like that. I totally understand why there needs to be restrictions in national parks, but there should be some exceptions where we could capture some of those beautiful vistas and stuff by permit, or maybe in a special area or a certain time of day, something along those lines. And it just doesn't exist here.
Well, here's the thing, Marcus. Here's the thing. And the National Trust and your national parks are both missing. I could tell you some horror stories, but I'm not going to. So here's where the National Trust and your national parks are missing a trick. If they did what you said there, Marcus, if they gave a certain time of day or certain, they said, right, Sunday mornings between 6 and 10 a.m. when the park's at the quiet time, or in the evening, we'll let you come and fly from this area. So this is what the area you can take off and land from. However, what we are going to do, we're going to charge you £5 or $5, right? They always want to make money, right? These places, National Trust, they've lost a lot of money, through COVID. I'm willing to bet the parks have lost a lot of money. If they were to charge people and said, look, you can fly from here, but it's going to cost you $5 for the day or £5 for the day. How many people would take that just to be legal, to be able to fly over those vistas and get those shots? I would think people would take that up. And, the National Trust would go, okay, so we can see a way to make a little bit of money here. Yes, you're going to get a few rogue pilots that are still going to do whatever they want.
Yeah. But
if it was a nice house, for example, the National Trust said, right, okay, guys, for £5 for 2 hours. The only rule is you can't directly overfly the building, because we don't want you to, because of the insurance and all that kind of stuff. As long as you stay this side of the building, you've got 2 hours with it. Who would take that up? And you could literally be 20 or 50 meters from it.
Yeah.
Who would love that?
Yeah.
I mean, what Stevie's father was saying, flying with respect and stop worrying, I agree. And the chance to get into trouble very slim, agree. Unless, of course, you say doing something that is wrong. Well, unfortunately, it's not people like me who know I'm doing things wrong. It's other people, and this is what gets people into trouble. So this is why we have all these rules in the first place. Am I right?
Well, you're right. It's in Spain. You can't fly over the Parque Nacional, your national parks. and they're very strict. However, when you do, if you're there, they will say to you, "No, full stop, pack your stuff and go."
So does that include like the Spooner Mountains in?
Yeah, it does include the Spooner, doesn't it?
Yeah,
When I first came over to Spain, we were flying.
There's two types of parks. There's a parking natural and a parking national. Is that right?
That's right, because we've got flamingos nesting and things like that. Yeah. You don't want to fly over them. You don't want to fly over all of that.
Yeah, that's a point that Lauren Donauer is making in the chat right now, and he's in Canada. He's in Alberta, in Calgary, and they have some just breathtaking, beautiful parks there. Yeah. That's what he's saying, is that they're worried about the wildlife. I totally understand that too. So, to your point, Mark, at times when it's a sensitive area where there's wildlife around, no, don't let people fly there. But there's also a lot of areas where it isn't going to hurt anything.
Yes.
Interestingly, here, I know of a model helicopter flying club in a nature reserve. Literally, you can literally throw a stone and hit the nature reserve, and they have a model helicopter club in the middle of it. Wildlife, for the most part, doesn't care unless you're stupid. So if you go flying over flamingos at 10 feet, they will freak out. If you was at 300 feet, they really wouldn't probably care.
No.
Okay. Now, here as well, we have class 1 protected birds like peregrine falcons and stuff. If Natural England caught you disturbing them, the fine is $5,000. Yes. And they do not back off. Tractors, I know farmers who've disturbed or driven past, they have cameras, they've got the registration plate of the tractor, got the farmer and gone, "Here's your $5,000 fine." And the farmer's gone, "Put in the field." And they go, We don't care. You're disturbing. That's one bird area.
We're just not supposed to plough that bit then.
I'll tell you, I'll just have me tractor.
So I have a good friend that is a marketing director for the Peregrine Fund, the Peregrine Falcons, and the Birds of Prey. There's a big Birds of Prey area here, right, and where I fly on the Snake River is right in the middle of that Birds of Prey area. It's BLM land. I'm perfectly legal to fly there. But like you said, Mark, I was very concerned. I don't want to disturb wildlife. So I went to him and I asked him, am I disturbing anything if I fly my drone out there? He looked at me and he says, "Marcus," he goes, "we used to have to rappel down to check the falcon nest to see if they had eggs, etc. We don't do that anymore for safety. We use drones."
Brilliant.
Here's the thing: when the Falcon comes for your Mini, you won't know about it
because they'll come down.
Yeah, this is all done.
There'll be little baby falcons trying to munch into a Mini too.
I was going to say, you don't know about it when he tries to eat it.
Well, to your point, so I fly around raptors all the time. When I'm out there in the Snake River, there's raptors. They're flying around everywhere. They pay no attention to that drone. Yep. No attention at all. The only birds that I've ever had pay any attention to the drone are, some smaller birds that might dive bomb it or whatever, but they don't even really come near it.
They're just like teasing it, aren't they?
Yeah,
trying to scare it.
I think when I was in Spain once, I think there was a couple of eagles that took a bit of a fancy to my drone. They said, "Oh, you can lower your drone." I was, "Why?"
Oh, Sierra is Spooner, they do.
There's a couple of eagles having an eye. I thought, my drone, you leave it alone.
I've had buzzards attack my fixed wing drone. So I was doing crop mapping, and I've had buzzards attack that, but there's not a lot I can do about it. I need the data, and the plane just takes a pounding from them. Here in the UK, the worst birds are seagulls nesting, which is any time now. They will take out. They're not afraid of a DJI M210. So they took out a DJI M210, which is 6.5 kilos, and is props,
Wow.
mini, seagull,
Oh my god.
You can put them on a Mini.
Yeah, can you imagine your Mini seagull when it doesn't care about 4 of these?
Got no chance.
Well, you can just imagine a goal gun. I'm going to get me a Mini.
They literally will just take you out because there was an air accident investigation thing on the one. And yeah, the M210, they just took one out. It was astounding.
So if a seagull actually takes your drone out, do you have to report an aviation accident?
You do if you're commercial. If you're commercial operator.
Yeah, it's an accident, isn't it?
I think even under Article 16 you would have to, and I think under the A2 as well you would do.
I'm not sure who this is actually, Jackie. Perhaps you can tell me here. Someone put here, as you're all professional flyers, can you give an amateur like me any good and good tips? Oh, any good tips that I've just started up.
That's Tony again. Tony Carlos.
Right. So what
drone has he got?
Well, no. The question. To be honest, the first question I like to ask people is, what do you want to do? Right.
Yeah.
It's not really about the drone. So this is just a tool, right? This is all this is. Different tools for different jobs. So this does not do everything I want. So I've got a Phantom 4 Pro. The Phantom 4 Pro didn't do everything I wanted, so I have this in the fleet.
It's all horses for courses, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it depends what you're doing. So what does he want to do? Because that's the important bit. Everything else, it becomes kind of, okay, so what's your aircraft? What do you want to do? It should be, I want to do this, so you get the aircraft to do it. That's the way it should be done. You know what I mean? Everyone buys the Mini 2, for example, because they want to fly in more areas. But that's not necessarily the best drone for the jobs that you want to do with it.
No.
Do you get where I'm going?
Yeah.
It's more about, it should be about the camera, the payload sensor, not about the drone. But people don't connect the two. Do you see where I am with that?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, the thing is, you have people have more than one drone for a reason. You know, they have the Mini 2, which is just a fun drone anyway now. Marcus has got more than two. We won't
got about 62.
Well,
someone probably just learn to fly correctly.
I'll find one that I forgot where I put it. Oh yeah, I forgot about that drone.
I think the secret benefit of the drone.
That's a sign you've definitely got too many.
I mean, I have multi-rotors and fixed wings because I fly both, so I don't,
Do you still do fly? Because they've changed the rules for that as well, haven't they, Mark? With planes now, you can't fly anything. He can't fly a little plane, and he's
gone.
400.
He's a magician.
Whoa, look at that.
It's a submarine.
It's a sub.
This is the body. The wings are not on it. But this,
I thought it was a pure tank.
I thought it was Moby Dick.
that's just the body of it.
Maybe you could use that to find your spot.
You had to get that in there, didn't you?
There's one wing. Look at that. That's got a wingspan.
And that's nothing. That's just the tail.
Wow.
Oh,
Jesus Christ. And they're trying to regulate us with our tiny little drones.
You know what I'm saying? Can you see what it is yet? Can you see what it is?
All the regulations cover these as well.
What's the power pack on that?
People get confused about everyone goes drone regulation. It's actually unmanned aircraft regulation. So even these things fall into the same rule set. So yeah.
I bet the thing you're holding right now doesn't hover though if you let go of the controls.
No, it just falls out of the sky.
No, it doesn't. Well, Steve, no, it won't. It'll do what it's programmed to do, which either it'll return to home and land, return to home and circle, or it'll fly its mission, depending what it's been given to do.
Oh, so you don't control it?
Can you actually get that to return
Pre-programmed.
like a drone then?
Blimey.
Yeah, it returns to home. Yeah.
Wow.
Caught one of them now.
This is actually the controller for this one. This has even got ADS-B. So if this sends to an aircraft with ADS-B nearby, this aircraft is programmed to actually avoid.
Shoot it down.
It will take evasive action. It will move away from that aircraft.
Wow. How many motors has it got?
Pardon?
How many motors have you got? How many engines?
This is actually a twin. So I'll get one of the wings. Hang on.
Uh-huh.
I heard what you said, Steve, too. I want you to know that. I heard what you said.
What's that?
Shoot it down.
That's the wing.
Wow.
So it's twin motor. So it's a twin motor. So it's one on each wing. And if this one was to fail, it will still fly.
Really? Why don't it just go around in circles if that happened, though?
No.
Okay.
So the flight controller will adapt to power loss of one side.
But surely
the flight controller will change for that, so it can speed up the other wing. Okay, like a full-size plane would.
Yeah.
So it speeds it up, and then it just changes the control surface to adopt and keeps flying.
Yeah.
Would you like to see the battery for it?
Yes.
Go and get it out and go sack barrel for it.
Does anyone a couple of drums?
So we know how big the Mini is, don't we? This is the Mini.
Yep.
This is the battery for the fixed wing.
Wow. How much does that battery weigh?
A couple of kilos.
And what's the range? Time-wise?
Well, from Mavic to nothing, you won't take off.
So what's the range of this?
Yeah.
So now, range versus duration. The controller is about 20 kilometers.
Right.
Okay, but the endurance of the aircraft is about 80k out.
Yeah.
Good job, and 80k back if you wanted to.
Wow. That's brilliant.
But I fly it legally in the UK. Just to say, it flies legal in the UK.
Is that for photography?
It's for mapping.
Oh, for mapping. Yeah.
Yeah. But you could put an FPV camera on if you wanted to. It can carry up to a kilo payload. So it carries a kilo. And it just, when you chuck it, so what you do is you pick it up, you shake it 3 times. So you go 1, 2, 3. The motors will start. Okay. Yeah, and you just chuck it. Well, actually, on the wings, you might not need to chuck it. It'll just take it out your hands everywhere.
And you're still hanging on to it.
That's insane.
Well, you don't know. You let go.
Mine used to have to take off on a runway.
I've got some planes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got some model planes as well.
Yeah.
Well, they need runways.
Yeah, this thing's belly lands.
That thing you've got, your torpedo or whatever it is next to you, it hasn't got any wheels.
No, so it lands on these bullet pads here.
Oh, right. It just crash lands, basically, then, yeah?
Crash land?
Well, you know what I mean.
No, it comes in like a plane, but it's got no wheels. So it just lands on its belly. It's just a belly lander.
What is that?
Belly landing.
Mark.
Belly landing.
Belly landing. Right.
That's the body.
Those black patches on there. What are they? Is it like, are they raised?
What? So which bits?
When it lands on those black.
Yeah, just like.
Is that, are they raised up? Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'll take what is it made of him?
Underbelly.
I'm quite
It
sure.
looks like a predator, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It weighs about 5.5 kilos.
But I'm just amazed. So you're saying that if you was to lose control, that would return to home just like a drone would?
Yeah. It's the flight controller in it is that good that it will return to home, and it does it at the height you tell it to, very much like the DJI. So if you go back at 80 meters, it will come back at 80 meters from the takeoff point.
I've got a friend who flies them sort of planes, and I've just known him. He just flies them, and he has to land them. So no landy, no planey, it's gone.
This can land itself. You can predetermine. You go right. I want it to land, and it will land roughly where you tell it to.
So, Mark, I've heard people talk about model aircraft now that they make them that are literally uncrashable. In other words, well, I suppose you can fly it into something, but they say that you can't get so out of shape when you're flying it that it won't return to level flight. And they will auto land as well, correct?
Yeah. Horizon Hobby. So Horizon Hobby, they definitely do one that's GPS. And it won't go more than like 500 meters from you. And if it does, it turns around and comes back.
Got ya.
And it will do a landing. But with fixed wings, the most important bit is with these things is you take off and land into wind.
Right.
So you take off in a crosswind wind. You don't take off downwind. You're always throwing into wind.
Always into wind.
Always landing into wind.
Right, we'll have just because time's pushing on a bit, and I realise it was quite late anyway. But I've got a featured film this week, so I thought I'd better just show because this was rather impressive. This, so,
Drone Seekers featured video of the week.
There you go. How about
That is superb.
That was good.
That's why we love drones, isn't it?
That's what we missed.
That's what.
That's
why we fly.
I contacted the guy and sort of said to him, "Look, I must show your feature drone." He said, "Oh, what one was it?" And I went, because he did go flying one day. I'm not sure where he went flying. It was a similar location, I think he was, and he forgot to take his phone with him.
Oh no!
So he had to literally fly the drone with no
mobile.
I thought,
So one comment there with regard to this new drone that DJI is going to introduce, and what I noticed in that video is he had a lot of speed ramps where he would speed it up and slow it down. which is great. But one of the things that I think would be attractive about that new drone is the speed, so it would look more natural in some of those.
Rather than looking like a speed up video, it actually would that speed. On the proviso, of course, you're happy to fly a drone at that speed, which
it'll do 90 odd miles an hour once you take it out of GPS mode and everything.
That's
you'll have to sign you'll have to sign it away, but it'll do the other side of 90 miles an hour, I'm led to believe.
But if you were flying on a mountain ridge or something like that, where you're going to be I would never be anybody that's going to be flying between trees doing that. But up flying over a ridge or something, you would, Mark.
Yeah.
I honestly, people that worry about hitting trees or hit cables and stuff, I just go no. Let's go fly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you go flying, you look around for yourself, right, okay, well, there's some wires over there. I'll tell you what, let's go fly over that direction. Say again?
So we're talking about flying through.
Close your eyes, Jackie.
Is that Skydio?
Flying through trees and not worrying. Yeah, that's the one. Jackie wants it. Yeah.
That's Skydio.
That's the Skydio too. Yeah.
So I have to ask Marcus, tell me about the Skydio. How good is it?
So let me start with the negative. Is range. It uses the Paradenofi controller, which the range, quite frankly, as you would expect, is very similar to what the Anafi was. That is to say, crap. And when you're not worried about, it's not so much range, it's interference, right? Particularly when you're flying through trees, you can get not very far away, and
that's the same with all 2.4 systems, though.
Right. So that's the downside. Other than that, it's all positive. This camera is phenomenal.
How good is it compared to, say, the 2 Pro then?
No. So it doesn't have a bigger sensor. But let me give you what it is. I'll tell you what it is, Mark. It's a GoPro, and the color profile is very similar to a GoPro. But for the kind of stuff I do, that's awesome. But what it does for you is you have no fear flying close to anything or through, because it just won't hit anything.
No.
Well, no. Don't tell people in the UK that they'll crash it. I forgot his name. His name's gone. One we think Al. He had one, and he actually rode his bike across a bridge. With,
it's like a suspension bridge, wasn't it?
The drone actually did touch one of the wires. The drone sort of went just a little wobble.
So let me answer that, Steve. Skydio tells you that anything less than an inch in diameter, it can miss. So you have to be in the wintertime when you have bare branches and stuff. You have to keep that in mind. You'll see guys crash them that they're having it follow them on a road that has telephone wires next to us. That's just stupid. Skydio tells you that, and it is.
Yeah.
Skydio tells you that it won't see that stuff. The cool thing is you don't have to worry about a magnetic calibration. The battery held in by a magnet. That's how that battery is held in there.
See, the good thing about that is that even with heat and that, see what we were saying about Terry's drone, flying your drone when the battery fell out, that can't possibly happen, can it?
No.
Because the magnet's not going to come off, is it?
I've never heard of that happening. What does happen on occasion when people do have crashes in them, the battery does tend to separate from the drone, which is a good thing in many cases because it would stop the drone.
It would actually probably, to be honest with you probably end up, the battery might come off worse than the drone, because if all the weight is in the batteries, that might protect the drone a little bit. So it's probably a good thing, not a bad thing, I think.
Yeah.
Don't try it. Well, you could try it, Mark, just do a video on it.
No.
And Jackie, the rest of the week.
Say again, Mark.
What's the flight time?
So I think they tell you like 22 minutes or something, but I get about 16 minutes.
Yeah. It's more than enough. Does it have Zoom? Well, I stole the daft question. Sorry. Zoom?
So it's funny. You know the little Zoom paddle on the Parrot controller.
Yes.
Well, it's the same on this, but what it does when it zooms is the drone just flies closer.
Well, that's better, isn't it? Because that's optical zoom, isn't it? Yeah, better than digital zoom.
So the short answer is no, it does not have real zoom.
Oh, you press zoom and the drone flies.
No, it does. I'm not kidding. Yeah.
Anyway, we better get this in because otherwise we'll never. Are you ready?
Right.
Come on, it's joke
I
time.
think it's too late now.
No,
never too
Never too late.
We've still got 25 people watching us. Look, come on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this that totally for.
One
Look,
day.
we've forgotten.
And now it's time for Terry's Joke of the Week.
Do you know, I thought we'd forgotten about this, but I will tell you something about what happened last week. Although we were on lockdown, we're allowed to go out walking, to keep your circulation going and all the rest of it. When I was walking down the road there, and there's this big sign outside this villa, talking dog for sale. And I thought, talking dog, what's he on about? So anyway, I rang the bell, and the owner comes out, and he said, the dog, he said, you can view it in the back garden. And I said, you don't mind if I come in? And he said, no, come in. He said, you got your mask on, haven't you? I said, yeah, absolutely. So I went there, and there's this black Labrador retriever sitting there on his haunches. And I said to him, do you really talk? And the dog looked at me and said, yes. And I thought, what? What? I said, you really do? He said, yes. So I said, okay then, tell me a story then. What's the score with you then? He looks up at me and he yawns. Well, he says, I discovered I could talk when I was pretty young and I wanted to help the government, so I was sold to the SAS. In no time at all, they had me jetting from country to country, sitting in rooms with spies and world leaders. No one imagined that a dog would be eavesdropping. And it was one of the most valuable spies for 8 years. I took up drone flying, fine, no problems at all. But the jetting around, it really pissed me off at the end. I got so tired, and I knew I wasn't going to get any younger, and my legs were aching, and I did want to settle down, get a wife, pups, and all the rest of it. So I signed up for a job at Heathrow Airport to do some undercover security work before we flew out here. Oh, it was just wandering around, dealing, and it was horrible. And in the end, I did fairly well and was awarded several medals. And then I did get married, had a few puppies, and now I've just retired. And the man looked at me and he shook his head, walked back towards his house. And I walked up to him. I said to him, how much do you want for him? He said, 20 euros. I said, you've got to be joking. 20 euros? He said, I said, your dog is speaking and you want 20 euros for him? He said, yeah, he's a bloody liar. He's never been outside of the garden.
Terry's Joke of the Week.
You like that? Change it a bit, Steve.
Yeah, that was the one I remember it now. You changed it a bit, but I thought I think I know what's coming next.
I quite like that one.
Well, time has come again. We've got to say goodbye. But Mark, it's been a pleasure. Please come back again because we've got lots more.
Bring some more aeroplanes, Mark. That was brilliant.
Mark's got more aeroplanes, but now your drone channel, is it, Mark? Just remind me.
All about drones.
All about
I'm sure it was called something else before that.
It was.
UAV specialist.
Yeah, it was not actually a specialist, but I changed it. But it's going all right, the channel, to be honest. It's all right.
Check Mark's drones channels. What he does, he talks a lot about obviously doing A2C and well, lots of things. Just, I could be here all day listing them, but very, very interesting. I've watched a lot of Mark's videos, and it's been of great help. So please just check it out. All about drones. And on that note, thank you very much, Mark. So it's goodbye from me and goodbye from them. And we'll do it again next week when I can find the exit door. Hang on. Here it is. Right.
Joining us tonight on the Drone Seekers Sunday Show. It's good night from us until next time. Stay safe and fly safe.